in crystal clear HD stereo. Today's pregame show is brought to you by
Volleman's Dairy, the official milk of the Dallas Cowboys. Texaco. Texaco with Techron delivers unbeatable gas mileage. Texaco with Techron, driving performance. Arrow Exterminators, official pest control provider of the Dallas Cowboys. Buffalo Wild Wings. Blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com.
Now, here's Zach Wolchuk and Bryan Broaddus.
Happy Cowboys game day. Cowboys in Miami Hard Rock Stadium taking on the Dolphins, where currently, right now, 75 degrees. Weather looking pretty good, mainly cloudy and breezy with showers in spots. I think that's normal for Florida. If you've ever been, you're hanging out, all of a sudden, boom, here's rain for about 15 minutes, and then it goes away.
Yeah, and this is a field that the stands are covered, but the field is exposed. So any type of weather that you get, and that field's usually pretty good about handling rain. I think it's got a sand base to it, though, so it accepts a lot of water. They do. It's one of the most immaculate fields I've ever walked on in my life. That and Tampa were two of the prettiest fields. Imagine that, both those fields in Florida. But the conditions should be outstanding for both teams. Though.
Well, Merry Christmas to everybody. Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout, Bryan Broaddus, here on the official pregame show of your Dallas Cowboys. The big news last night, we expected this after the injury report came out. Tyron Smith was listed as doubtful. He's officially been ruled out for the Dolphins game today, so you won't have Tyron Smith. It'll be Chuma Edoga starting at left tackle. But the good news that you gave us, Bryan Broaddus, Zach Martin, good to go?
Absolutely good to go. Yeah, I got the report just before we went on air that he was going to be available and ready to play. So that's great news. Edoga will be the left tackle, and they'll have to navigate the ways around that. When you start to talk about Edoga's game, he starts off a little shaky, and then all of a sudden he kind of finds his way, as the game wears on. So hopefully against Bradley Chubb that he's able to, have some good early reps, have some success, get some confidence. I don't know how much they're going to try and help him. We've seen in the past that they've put tight ends over for spacing. They've chipped. These running backs do a really good job of helping with pickups as well. The Dolphins are a big four-man rush team, so that will free Pollard up to, help in any kind of protection, but also get out in routes. They might need to get that with the way the Dolphins like to drop seven, getting him the football in the flat and letting him get up the field and make some big plays is a potential today.
And the beat right now, everybody that's out there, our buddies Todd Archer, John Machota, Michael Gelkin, Zach Martin, the only Cowboy out there currently hanging out at about the 25-yard line, doing some pregame work, trying to get that quad loosened up. Dolphins do have their throwback jerseys they're going to be wearing today. So the end zones, they got the orange and the old Dolphins graphic.
Yeah, is it the checkerboard ones they have?
Not the checkerboard.
Okay.
It's going to be straight orange, and then it's Dolphins and that teal with the white helmets on each side of the end zone and the old school Dolphin logo.
That is, it's a unique. It's funny, their uniforms have changed over the years slightly, though. It seems like they've had kind of the Dolphin is the one that gets manipulated, whether it's like it's carrying a football or doing something with a football, or the Dolphin with the helmet on, which I think is a wild thing.
Yes, a Dolphin with a helmet on. It's insane.
But it's going to be a really interesting game. Both teams really need this game. With Buffalo winning last night, Miami has got to find a way to stay ahead, and Dallas with the way that if they can find a way to get the win today and then put some pressure on the Eagles, who I was looking at the injury report for the Eagles, man, they're down 4 starters in this game tomorrow against the Giants. So if the Cowboys can find a way to win, that would put a lot of pressure on Philadelphia.
Absolutely. I mean, you're so right. Miami wins today. They clinch a playoff spot as well. But all of a sudden, you're looking at next week. It could be first place on the line in the AFC East if they don't win. Cowboys, again, this has been the talk all week, have not lost back-to-back games under Mike McCarthy since the 2021 season. They also haven't been to Miami. These two teams are 7-7 all-time records.
Yeah.
So the winner today gets the bragging rights between the two. It's interesting. I think you and I both feel the same way, Bryan, about we're more concerned about Mike McDaniel and that Dolphins offense. We'll have plenty of time to break that down with Babe and Brad, and of course, Kevin Burkhardt, who's going to join us. And on the other side, we'll go behind enemy lines with Jimmy Cefalo, Dolphins play-by-play voice. But that Vic Fangio defense, I know Sean and RJ asked this to Mike McCarthy. Last time Vic Fangio, who was the head coach of the Broncos, came to town at AT&T Stadium in 2020, they left. They blew the Cowboys out. He said, we have the blueprint. To me, I don't think there's anything still there. I think the Cowboys have played teams that run a similar style that are disciples, their defensive coordinators, whether it's the Cardinals, the Chargers, the Rams now with the Rams, the Eagles twice with Sean Desai, and the Panthers. I mean, the Cardinals gave them a little bit of trouble, but otherwise, their offense played very well against all the other teams. How concerned are you with that two-safety high look that Fangio's known for?
Yeah, the concern is the way that they play it. And we talk about the cloud coverage with a corner up, corner back, and it's used to disguise. You think you're getting a cover two look, and the next thing you know, it's really into like a single high look. Or, the thing that gave the Cowboys problems last week against Buffalo was when they dropped 7, it was 5 underneath, 2 deep, and they couldn't get the ball down the field there. The routes weren't good enough or deep enough, or you didn't have the time to get the ball down the field. And then, when you're dealing with this pass rush with the Dolphins, the 4-man rush that they get, I think that Andrew Van Ginkel doesn't get nearly enough credit that he deserves as a pass rusher. He was a special teams guy, but he's an outside linebacker, and we talk about Bradley Chubb quite a bit. And then they lose Phillips to the Achilles injury, but they still have the ability to rush the passer. Dallas has got to find ways to find space. They just, you cannot, the route combinations, the routes, just overall game plan I thought was really poor last week. And you kind of felt like, was it a game plan that was built on just, it's going to be bad weather and we're going to hand them? They ran the ball with effectiveness for sure. But all of a sudden now you're dealing with a defense that's going to play that drop 7 and trying to and make things difficult for you. They've just got to be better. Dak has got to be better reading it, and then they've got to do a better job of running the routes to get open on it.
Something else we'll be monitoring today is CeeDee Lamb is chasing history as he is 9 catches away from tying Michael Irvin's all-time season record for the Cowboys when it comes to single-season catches. So he needs 9 catches to break the playmaker's record. Can he get that today? It's going to be a tough challenge. Certainly he'll have most likely Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey both on him.
Yeah, Ramsey has not allowed many receptions. He's almost a 50-50 proposition when you play him. I think they're right around 48% when you start to talk about dealing with him. There's been times where people have tried to attack him. They've had some success. And then there's also those times where people have just completely gone away from him, and then he gets bored. And what you kind of have to hope is that when he starts to get bored, that maybe you can pop a play or two on him when he's not up to snuff on that coverage. So, yeah, it's going to be a challenge. These guys cover very, very well. And that's, like I said, Dallas has got to find a way to get open in these. And the combinations of the routes have to be better. And they've done a good job. The previous 7 weeks, they had the route combinations that worked, the tight ends, the receivers, guys running, helping each other get open. Just did not see that at all last week. No. The only play that you really saw that was the opening one that went down the field to Cooks that they missed on. Everything else besides that was pretty basic, pretty vanilla, and not nearly good enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And, hey, Cowboys on the road next week back home against Detroit. Detroit right now tied at 7 with Minnesota. We'll be updating you on all the scores throughout the entire afternoon here on the pregame show. But I do want to let you know, Cowboys Nation, next week, Jimmy Johnson getting into the Ring of Honor. Come out early to the Miller Lite House, the pregame gathering destination on the West Plaza of the stadium. Miller Lite is, of course, the only beer of the Cowboys, and we invite all Cowboy fans to join us for a great tailgate event. Sample some great seltzer brands as well, like Vizzy Hard Seltzer. That stuff's delicious. The official hard seltzer of the Dallas Cowboys. Brian, I mentioned Lions and Vikings tied at 7. Holy cow. Trevor Siemian has 17 points already for the New York Jets as they're midway through the first quarter against Washington.
Yeah, the Commanders are just what a mess. And, you kind of felt like that maybe the Commanders were going to be a team that were going to kind of figure things out this year that would be more competitive than they are. But man, they are just defensively, they are just so bad right now. The Jets are having their way running the football on them too, which is something we haven't seen in the past. I mean, usually the Commanders are pretty good on their run defense, but Jets doing a good job of getting likely going to get a victory today.
Are you confident? The Jets were talking about scoring 17 points. So we're both more worried about Miami's offense, but do you think the Cowboys' offense bounces back today, and even if they lose, they put together a good performance?
They're going to if they lose, I would guess that they probably wouldn't have performed very well.
Okay. If the Cowboys' offense is playing they win the football game.
I think if the Cowboys' offense, to me, where the Cowboys' offense, their best run defense is their Cowboys' offense. If the Cowboys find a way to move the ball and are able to, finish drives, 10 play. Dallas is one of the top teams in the league when it comes to 10-plus play drives, and they've done a great job really all year of finishing those drives and, putting points. And, nobody's run the ball on Dallas when they get 30, 35 points because you're into a mode where you have to, score along with them. And the Dolphins could clearly score right along with you. I think the Dolphins are a little nervous about what the Cowboys offense could do. And so that's where I feel like that Mike McDaniel's game plan is going to reflect that. Yeah, I can see them just loading up and saying, okay, let's see if you're good enough to play perimeter run defense today.
And why not? I mean, they certainly couldn't stop it last week. Where's Dan Quinn and company, and really the commitment from the players? Are they able to go out there and execute and prove, all right, you can't just line up and throw and run the football on us. Only 15 passes last week against Buffalo. But I think you and I are certainly in agreement. If the Cowboys put pressure on the opposing team, they're not going to just run the football on you. They're going to feel like, okay, we've got to score to keep up, and we're going to air it out a little bit.
Yeah, and they've got the capability to score right along with you. This is really two very, very similar teams when you look at how they're, when you look at offensively, the explosiveness they have, the ability to rush the passer, play some good defense. But yeah, Dallas's strength is clearly rushing the passer, and the one thing that we know is that the 49ers, the Dolphins are limited in their offensive line right now. Mm-hmm. And, they've got a quarterback that doesn't move around a lot. The last 2 weeks, you've played quarterbacks that have had the ability to run and scramble. And this week, you're not dealing with that guy. You're dealing with a guy that's going to stand in there and make throws. So get bodies around him and get him to the ground. He will hold on to the football and take a sack if he has to.
Yeah, Robert Hunt will not be playing for them along the offensive line. We'll see about Austin Jackson. Tyreek Hill also, according to Jay Glazer, will be a game-time decision. I expect Tyreek Hill to play.
I expect Hill to play, too.
But we'll have to monitor that as soon as we get all the actives and inactives. As we mentioned at the top of the show, Tyron Smith is out, as we found out last night, but Zach Martin in, as is Malik Hooker, which will help. Last week, certainly, you didn't have to cover, but against Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and the variety of speed, whether it's a Chosen Anderson or former Cowboy Cedric Wilson, that they can present offensively, you're going to need Malik Hooker to have a big game at the top of that secondary.
Absolutely. Malik Hooker, it's super important for him. Last week, there was thought that he was going to be able to play, and it got to game time, and his ankle just did not respond as quickly as they thought it was. They thought by the time they got to the game, I was getting messages on Thursday that he was going to be ready to play. But then all of a sudden it didn't happen that way. So but they do need him back because his ability to play with some range, his ability to play with some, they're going to need somebody to covering. They're going to need, the thing about it is these Dolphin receivers, they all run. And the speed and
it's probably the fastest team in the league.
Oh, it's incredible what their backs can take it from anywhere on the field. You miss tackles, you all of a sudden you give up a play that's a 6-yard play. It should only be a 6-yard play, and all of a sudden now you're dealing with a 76-yard play because you didn't tackle well enough. Well, that's what the Dolphins can do to you.
Pre-game party just getting started as the countdown is on. Cowboys and Dolphins, so much to get to in the pregame show today. 877-881-1053. Text in, let us know your Christmas Eve plans, how you're taking in the game. What are you grilling on as well? Jimmy Cefalo of the Dolphins play-by-play voice, Dante Fowler as well, as we get into the player profile with Chris Arnold. That and more coming up next on 105.3 The Fan.
Go behind the scenes at the home of the Dallas Cowboys with AT&T Stadium Tours presented by SeatGeek. See what makes AT&T Stadium a unique, world-class facility by taking a VIP guided tour. Check out the owner's experience.
goal now to put Wilson in motion. They hand the ball to Mostert. There's the record. Touchdown. His 19th touchdown of the year, breaking the team record held by Mark Clayton previously.
That is Jimmy Cefalo, the Dolphins play-by-play voice, and he is joining us now here on your official pregame show of your Dallas Cowboys. Zach Wolchuk alongside Bryan Broaddus as we get closer and closer to kickoff from Hard Rock Stadium there in Miami. Jimmy, how are you, sir? Thanks for giving us some time today.
Thank you for having me. Merry Christmas to everybody out there.
Merry Christmas to you as well. I think a big question for us here in Dallas has been the health of the Cowboys' offensive line. No Tyron Smith. It appears hopefully Zach Martin is good to go today. What can you tell us about the health of Miami's offensive line?
Well, Robert Hunt probably, he's been already declared out, so the right guard won't be there. But they'll have Teron Armstead back, the all-pro left tackle, which is big. He played last week and played well, and I'm not sure about Austin Jackson at the right tackle spot. We'll have to wait until they give us the those that are not active for today's game. Williams, their starting center, who was a former Cowboy, is out for the year. So they've been really banged up. They've started, I believe it's 10 different players along the offensive line with 8 different starting combinations. But despite that, they're number 2 in the NFL in rushing. And they've been protecting Tua Tagovailoa extraordinarily well. So they've done a really nice job.
Yeah, Jimmy, when you watch them on tape, though, the thing that's most impressive is their ability to run the football and how physical they are to do it. And it's a perimeter game, which is really fascinating. That's something that Dallas had problems with, though. Is that something that has Mike done that because of some of his injuries on the offensive line, or is that naturally how the Dolphins play week in, week out?
Now, this has been his philosophy going back to the 49ers when he was the run coordinator there. It's a zone blocking scheme, actually. It's not a perimeter blocking scheme. It's zone blocking. So the running back takes the ball as deep as they can get it to him, and then he has the ability to cut wherever he wants, all the way back, around the corner, around the end. It doesn't matter. If they don't seal the end, they'll go around there. If they leave some holes and some gaps far left or far right, they'll take that too. So, and Mostert's done a great job with tremendous speed. I mean, we're not sure here who would win a 100-meter dash between Mostert and Hill. I mean, that's how fast, and Achane. Those three are extraordinarily fast.
Yeah, it's a track team over there. It really, really is.
It is.
It's outstanding, the team speed that they have. Mike McDaniel has been a joy to watch on Hard Knocks and then just in general with his press conferences. How's your experience been being around Mike McDaniel since he's been the coach?
I'm not around him a lot, but I try to stay away from that because, I always think one of the issues you have as a former player is that in being in the booth, you've got to be as objective as humanly possible. So I try not to get close to any of them. But yeah. I like Mike. I like what he's done. The players love him. The media loves him. He's light-hearted, and he approaches things differently. If you've watched Hard Knocks at all, you realize how different he approaches things. He takes the blame on himself first, and then may talk to a player in private, but never publicly.
Jimmy, we kind of talked about, and you hinted about the injuries with the offensive line. What about in the secondary with Xavier Howard and his availability for this game?
We're not sure about Xavier Howard yet. We're going to have to wait for those inactives to come out. It does not look like they'll have one, maybe two of their safeties. But here's the thing. Last week they didn't have Xavier at all either. And against the Jets, what the Dolphins decided to do is take Jalen Ramsey, who's playing as well as any cornerback in football. And he shut Wilson down completely last week in the Jets offense. Now, that's not saying a lot because Jets offense is not saying a lot, period. So, yeah. But Jalen Ramsey is as good and physical a cornerback as they come. He's made 3 extraordinary interceptions this year. I mean, diving, athletic. He really is that good. I look for him to be locked up with CeeDee Lamb and let the chips fall where they may.
When it's Throwbacks Uniforms Day for the Dolphins. When you see those uniforms out there, what do you think? All those old great memories of you out there running them routes?
Oh, well, I don't never think about that. But I do think of, some of the players who I played with, whether it be Larry Zonk or Bob Greasy or, some of the Hall of Famers, Dwight Stevenson, some really terrific players. And it's, if you ask the fans what they want, they would rather the throwback jerseys, the throwback everything. about this organization. Maybe because it's been since the 80s since we've been to a Super Bowl, so that's part of it, I guess.
Jimmy Cefalo with us here on 105.3 The Fan. Looking at that Dolphins defense, you mentioned how good Ramsey's been playing, but what do you think is their biggest weakness right now? If the Cowboys were going to exploit an area, where would that be?
Well, probably the middle of the field. Javon Holland may not play today. I don't think he will, actually. He's been out for a couple of weeks. He's got a couple of sprained knees, and that's the problem. Elliott probably, well, we don't think he's going to play either, and so you might have that issue of both starting safeties being out. So if you're going to attack anything, you're going to attack the middle of the field. The issue, though, is that Vic Fangio has been such a terrific coordinator, and he has really gotten after the quarterback. The greatest strength the Dolphins have is getting after the quarterback. Mm-hmm. And right now you've got Bradley Chubb playing as well as anybody at the edge position in football. And that includes your guy, who I love because I've watched Micah Parsons since he was a freshman at my alma mater, Penn State.
Yeah.
But, boy, Bradley Chubb, last week he had 3 quarterback sacks. He had, I think, 6 pressures, quarterback hits. He had 2 forced fumbles and a fumble recovery. That's the kind of game he's been playing.
Yeah, he's outstanding. But I'll tell you, on the other side, though, Andrew Van Ginkel has done a great job for you as well. I mean,
yes, he has.
He's like one of these things. Everybody's like, well, give me maybe one of the Dolphins' better players that no one's talking about. Van Ginkel has been. That's him right there. And when you watch him play, the type of game, if you can talk about what he's meant to the Dolphins this year.
Well, he has a pick six. He's very athletic. He has a motor that doesn't stop. He gets after the quarterback. I think he's got 4.5 sacks, and he didn't start the season as a starter, but he's someone who you've got to account for on every single play if you're the Cowboys' offensive front. There's no way number 43 can be ignored,
right? And
that presents a problem because you got on one side you got Chubb, who's playing just out of his mind, and Van Ginkel on the other side. So this is a very good Christian Wilkins. Inside, too. He's got, I want to say he's got about 9 sacks, 9.5 sacks, something like that, as an interior lineman, and has always been one of the top tacklers as a defensive interior lineman in football since he came into the league out of Clemson as the number 1 pick.
Jimmy, when it comes to, of course, the Dolphins rushing attack, I know Brian talked about that earlier, but with Achane, and he's kind of been banged up a little bit, is this an even split now, or is this more, you think, they lean one way or the other today?
No, I think it's Mostert because of Mostert's experience and how well he's played. He needs about, I think, 34 yards for 1,000. Tua is under 100 yards away from 4,000 yards passing. Waddle is under 50 yards for 1,000 yards receiving. And, of course, Tyreek Hill already has over 1,500. So you might, by the end of the first quarter, have 2 1,000-yard receivers for the Dolphins, a 1,000-yard rusher, and a 4,000-yard passer.
You mentioned Tua. I don't think Tua is being given enough praise for the job that he's done this year. I mean, I think a lot of people, and he's talked about it, he talked about keeping receipts. They look at the weapons that he has around him. They think he's a system quarterback. I don't know. I wonder your thoughts on how well Tua's been playing.
Well, in my years here, he is the most accurate passer we've ever had, period. He places the football exactly where it should be placed. He's completing 71% of his passes, for goodness sakes. 71%, which is the highest in Dolphin history and the highest in the league right now. So, I mean, and to me, that's what Tua does. He makes a decision right away. He's very intelligent. He knows where he has to go with the football, and he gets it out of his hand right away. And he puts it in a place where, as a receiver, coming across the middle, you got to worry if your quarterback understands that you're going to get your head knocked in. But if they place it correctly, that doesn't happen. And I remember Marino Pickett calling me over when he first came in, and he said, Jimmy, I'm never going to put the ball in a place where a safety is going to crack you. I'm going to put it in a place, it might be a little behind you, it might be just to the side, but I'm not going to lead you into somebody who's going to kill you. And it means so much to a wide receiver, and Tua does that better than anybody.
Speaking of the great Dan Marino, there are some fans that are driving around that might not know why I'm asking this at all, but how many times in your playing career did you have a ball that landed right in your face mask?
Just once, and it was David Woodley throwing it.
Okay.
And we were playing on Monday Night Football, and we had a slant pattern on the goal line. David had the strongest arm of anybody I ever played with.
LSU guy.
He didn't know what to. He didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm standing maybe 8 yards away from him, and he winds up and fires it. And before I can get my hands up, it hits me in the face mask and bounces through the uprights.
Wow.
And Howard Cosell something like, well, that would have been good as a field goal. Yeah, sure would have been, Howard. Thank you so much.
Jimmy, you're fantastic, man. Enjoy the game today. Merry Christmas, and thank you so much for joining us.
Merry Christmas to you both, Zach and Brian. Thanks for having me.
We appreciate you. The great Jimmy Cefalo, fantastic Dolphins play-by-play voice. And one of the best Miami receivers. I mean, I don't think
no, he was back in the day. He was. That's what I was saying. I was asking him. He's very humble about about the things. I mean, they've had some great receivers in Miami.
They really have.
Go back to Paul Warfield and Nate Moore, and I mean they've got Nat Moore was great, and the Duper Clayton. They've had Jimmy Cefalo. All those guys were outstanding.
Well, and if you're wondering about the face mask, go back in 1984. Marino threw the pass to Jimmy Cefalo that broke the most touchdown passes in a single season for 1984. So that's since been broken, of course. Yeah. But if you want a little NFL history, go back, watch that play. It's pretty cool there, Dan Marino to Jimmy Cefalo. Let's go and pause 10 seconds for station identification here on 105.3 The Fan.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan. Tolo, baby. KRLD FM and HD1, Dallas Fort Worth.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
877-881-1053. What you grilling on, and what are your plans here for Christmas Eve, as we've got Dallas Cowboys football, and what a special day it is. Of course, if you're like, man, I don't feel like cooking anything, you can always go to our friends at Papa John's. It's big, it's good, and it's the only one for Cowboy fans. The Cowboy Special from Papa John's, a large one-topping pizza for $9.99. Yes, $9.99. Order today. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's, the official pizza of the Dallas Cowboys. I know you're going to like this, Brian. 817. Me and Mama did our Christmas dinner last night because I was off. Mm-hmm. We had oysters and crab.
There you go.
From Boudin. From Crab Station. I'll be at work for the game. Yeah. Love you. And shout out to everybody who still has to work on the holidays. We're here for you. Yeah. We'll be rocking with you until 9:30 tonight. Hopefully entertain you on the postgame show.
I do appreciate folks that will sometimes, like we have, turkey's kind of a traditional Thanksgiving. But on Christmas, you can kind of have some fun with seafood and tamales and all kinds of different things, prime rib and all that, tacos. It doesn't matter. That's the great thing about the holidays is you can kind of do it what you want to do.
Oh, this is good from our guy Mike in Caddo Mills, 469, working for Miller Lite and making fajitas today. Cowboys 34-32, Dak with 3 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown. If Dak has 4 total touchdowns, Cowboys are winning today.
I'd hope so. I bet, yeah. And Jimmy kind of told you, though, when he started naming off all the things that they potentially adopt. You could have 2,000 two receivers with 1,000 yards. You could have a 4,000 passing quarterback, 1,000. I mean, gosh, from the Cowboys' defensive perspective, I would hope everything he said does not happen.
No, none of it.
Yeah.
Let's come out. Okay, so if you had to pick one guy on the Cowboys' defense, and it's going to take all 11, but if one guy excelled and has a big day, who does that need to be?
It's whoever plays right edge for you. It really, and we talk about the linebackers and Clark, and you don't have a traditional group of linebackers. You're going to have to. This is going to have to be you're controlling the edge of this Dolphin running attack. You're going to have to be able to play force on the corners. You're going to have to get the safeties in the alley. You're going to have to find a way not to be out of position when that ball does cut back. So to me, whoever's playing right defensive end when they're running the football is the most important player, because you kind of feel like the tank is going to be okay. Mm-hmm. We'll see with Mozzie and those guys. I mean, inside will be key, but it's going to be the edge. And Jimmy mentioned the zone run defense. It's a perimeter run. It really is. When you watch how they get the ball to the edge, crack toss, straight handoff, those kinds of things. That ball, they're trying to get the ball to the edge to get the guys in space and be able to use their speed to get to the corner and break the game open that way.
So if Miami does say, hey, we're going to give you a heavy dose of the run, because I could see Mike McDaniel doing that.
I could.
Absolutely today. Where do you play Micah? I mean, are you going to, does Micah just need to do a better job and run? Because we've seen teams attack him and try and run at him, and he has struggled at times where it comes to over pursuing or getting off of blocks.
Well, the thing about these, when you talk about linebacker play in the run game, you need to play with instinct. And Micah is naturally, he's developed in such a great pass rusher that, he doesn't get a lot of work as playing as a linebacker. And so what happens is, the Sean Lees, the Leighton Vander Esch's, the Dat Wins, those guys play with great instinct. You know why? Because they prepped. They were ready. They knew what formation. Oh, hey, they're getting a tight formation here. Okay, we're going to get a crack here. Okay, they're a little bit open here. Ball's going to go inside. They're reading splits and all that stuff like that. So to me, these linebackers, they struggle a little bit with the instinct part of it, though. And I think with Micah, I'm putting him on the edge, and I'm having him go up the field and try and be as disruptive as I can, because I think the ball is trying to go to the outside of him more so than trying to go to the inside of him. So get up the field as fast as you can. I think I play him as that edge.
And then when it comes to rushing the passer, I mean, obviously, Jimmy just said we got to wait and see Austin Jackson.
Yeah.
But I think one thing we talked about this week is maybe you move him around the line of scrimmage.
I'd absolutely move him around with no Robert Hunt. So if Austin Jackson and Robert Hunt's out for sure, but Austin Jackson, Kendall Lamb, who's the backup number 70, is not very good. And so on that side over there, you're really struggling a little bit over there with Lamb, and then with Eichenberg, the center.
Yeah, who's a tackle that's kicked inside the center.
He does not get to the second level. He's not a very powerful guy. So I'm moving Micah Parsons around a ton, and I'm just working him off whoever I feel like. If I can feel like I can work him off the center, if I feel like I can work him off this guard, the tackle. But he needs to operate from the center going to his left. Those three guys are all guys he needs to take advantage of.
It is the 10-4 Cowboys in Miami taking on the 10-4 Dolphins. It's a big one. A lot left to do here on the pregame show. We'll talk with Fox TV's Kevin Burkhardt coming up on the other side. We got Christy Scales. We've still got your player profile with Chris Arnold. Dante Fowler, catching up with him this week. That's going to be sensational. Of course, Brad, Babe, and your text, 877-881-1053. Merry Christmas. What are your plans for today's Cowboy game, and what are you going to be grilling on as well? All of that and more as the pregame show rolls on here on 105.3 The Fan.
Hi, I'm Frank.
Dallas Cowboys. Kevin, how you doing? How's Miami? And Merry Christmas, sir.
Merry Christmas, Zach and Brian. It's good to be back with you. We're doing great. I mean, the weather's fantastic down here. A couple 10-4 teams, so ready to go, guys. Excited.
Well, yeah, we've just named you as part of our permanent pregame show, Kevin. Since you've been with us now, it seems like all year. But
what is this, game number 7?
So happy to have you.
We do the Cowboys every week, so I'm okay with that, and I'm happy to come on any time. So yeah, it's fun. We certainly have seen and done enough Cowboys games, so I feel like we know them rather well at this point.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, though, Kevin, how is the prep for that, though? Is there something that – do you have to come up with a different angle when you're thinking about getting ready for a game, or does the previous game lead into where you're trying to get for this one?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. Like, I think it's twofold, right? When you're doing a team multiple times in, say, a month – yeah, just for your own satisfaction, you're looking for different angles, maybe things you missed or things you haven't talked about yet. But I think you also have to keep into account it's the big picture stuff, because you can't assume that even the most diehard Cowboys fans are watching or listening to every single thing that we say. So it's kind of finding the balance of both. And then the reality is the narratives and some of the things change as the year goes on. So what you may have been a big focal point for you a month ago is not really the same anymore. So I think it's just kind of finding the delicate balance. Certainly, the players, the backstories of things like that, but it's just following up on the latest and trying to make it fun and interesting for the people watching.
Last week was certainly stunning with what went down in Buffalo. What were the interactions like this week when you got to meet with some of the players and coaches?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. And I think the interesting thing is with look, obviously the big topic is winning on the road because Dallas is so good at home, and it's a real thing. And I think Mike McCarthy said it best. He's like, look, it is a real thing, and I'm glad it's a narrative because I think it has been talked about here. So it's not like they're turning a blind eye and not paying attention to it. They're thinking about it. Mike even told us that, I've thought about everything, including our road schedule. Like, is there anything we could do differently to make it a little bit better? So I think, not like it's in their heads, but I think it's to the point where they're certainly seeing if there's anything they can do differently to play better on the road. I think for Dallas, the reality is this. They are a team that thrives playing in the lead. They just do. They get out front early. Yeah. They score first early, and when they do, their defense with that pass rush goes nuts. That's a simple formula for them. And when they don't, when they fall behind, they have a tough time.
Kevin, you do so many of these games every year, though, and I was going to ask you, the Cowboys are one of the most penalized teams in the league. Are you finding officiating, again, I hope I don't get you in trouble with this question or anything like that, but are you finding that officiating has been tougher on teams this year, or is it, where are you at when it comes to these games and how they're officiated?
I think they're just, look, it's a tough job, right? I think there's just some games where you're watching, and I think, these officials get graded on every little thing they do, right? So that you got to keep that in mind, okay? And I think that there are just games where you're watching where you're like, come on, that didn't affect the play. Right. Just let it go. Let the guy. That's the stuff that for me, forget about the broadcaster, as the fan, you're like, just let it go. Just let it play. And I think there's some times where it's a little bit much. Take, for example, offensive offsides.
Yes.
With all the stuff going on with the tush-push play, they've tried to kind of neutralize that play. But I've seen more offensive offsides in the last month than I have in 15 years watching the NFL. So it's like overcorrection. That being said, look, the Cowboys, they got hurt last week. I mean, they had 3 15-yard penalties that led to points. And you take the block punt or the almost block punt by Sam Williams, who just, he had one earlier in the year.
Sure.
Maybe if he doesn't leave his feet, it's a block punt touchdown. The whole game is different. So it's, it's not by a wide margin. But I agree with you. I think there is a fine line there, and I'd like to see, I don't know, maybe a little common sense in some of these.
Yeah, I feel like, though, when I'm watching, we're here in studio watching your broadcast, and it's like you guys do such a great job, and the game flows because it's flowing through you guys that way. And I just feel like, I'm like, why are they calling this? Why are they slowing down the game, that way? And but I also want to ask you this question. Were you surprised that McCarthy didn't call a timeout when that ball was fumbled last week in that game with Diggs? With Diggs, were you surprised?
Well, to be completely honest, I didn't see it until we had the replay after the play. I did not know that he lost it because it was on the near sideline to us, so it was sort of blocked. And, they go quick and do it. So, Greg had thought right away that he thought it might have been, a loose ball.
Oh, he did.
He was
did.
right.
Yeah.
He was on it. So I didn't see it. So for that reason, I wasn't surprised. It happened really, really quick. I mean, give the Bills credit, I thought, there, because they got to the line and just snapped it and didn't give him a chance to think. You almost needed someone to hit him right away, like it's out. And it didn't happen. I don't know. I can't kill Mike on that one personally.
Fox play-by-play man Kevin Burkhardt with us here on 105 through the Fan, getting you set for Dolphins and Cowboys. Cowboys haven't played in Miami since 2015, haven't played the Dolphins since 2019. What stood out to you in this week of preparation about the Dolphins?
Yeah, it's funny, guys. I was saying the last time I did a game here, it was Tony Romo was quarterback in the Cowboys. That was 2015. That was that game, right?
Yes.
So it's been a long time, and now I forgot the question. I'm sorry.
Just what stood out about the Dolphins in the week of prep?
How they have a 4x4 relay team down there. Yeah,
the speed.
Yeah, it is something. I think what's interesting about them, and the obvious thing is obviously, yes, they are crazy, electric fast. But I think the beauty is when you watch them, it's not just the speed, say, of Tyreek Hill racing down the field or Jalen Waddle. It's vertical and horizontal speed. So, they get Raheem Mostert to the edge. He's as fast as anybody in the NFL. And then they go down the field. They throw a screen pass to Waddle, and then they go down the field. So it's speed like from left to right and, vertically. And that's really hard to cover the entire field like that. So I think when you think of the speed, it's just yes, Tyreek Hill is fast. We know that. But it's not just that. It's the speed to really every quadrant of the field. That's why they're so good. I think Mike McDaniel is a heck of a play caller, too. He really is.
I was going to ask you about McDaniel, though. Does the league need more Mike McDaniels as head coaches?
I think the cool thing about Mike McDaniel is that he's so unique and he's so authentic. And he told us this week. He's like, look, the cool thing is, we asked him. It wasn't like he was gloating, by the way. So we asked him a question about it. He said, look, the reality is if I wasn't going to coach, I would not be here because, right, I don't look like a coach, don't really speak like a coach, don't act like a coach, so it doesn't seem to fit. And I thought that was so spot on. It's like it's the old don't judge a book by its cover, and there are different ways to do it. And I think it's cool. I think it's refreshing. And here's the reality of the situation. Like I don't know. I know everyone here really loves him. But I'll tell you one thing, at least right now, he saved Tua Tagovailoa's career. That was going in a different direction, and his energy and his positive force and his brains brought Tua to a different place. And he's leading the league in yards and completion percentage right. He wouldn't be doing that if Mike McDaniel wasn't here.
Kevin, before we let you boogie out of here, what are your Christmas Day plans? And do you have a favorite Christmas movie?
Oh, well, Christmas movies, the easy one for me is Christmas Vacation. I mean, it's every year.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a tradition in the Burkhardt household. So Christmas Vacation, and you're going to love this. So, flying home late tonight to California where I live, and tomorrow it's a big eating day, guys. We got and you'll appreciate this. I got steaks for the grill and a turducken. It's a big day.
I got the turducken?
It's a big day. It's gonna be great.
Have you had the turducken before, or is this the first time?
No, so those guys from Butcher Block down in New Orleans are amazing. They had the relationship with John Madden way back when, and ever since they treat us here at Fox like gold, and so we just have a relationship with those guys, and we just order them up, and then you could do it too, by the way. You just call them up, they'll send one to your house. It's unbelievable. They freeze it up. It's the best. So I may not be able to move for the entire week, but it'll be well worth it.
Hey, you deserve it, my man. Thank you so much again for always jumping on with us. Enjoy the game and have a safe flight home.
Guys, truly enjoy the conversation always. So enjoy it, and I'm sure I'll see you soon.
Absolutely.
Sounds great. Thanks,
there he
sir.
is, Kevin Burkhardt. I mean, the entire crew at Fox they're all fantastic. Aaron, Greg, Tom. I mean, we're spoiled that really we've gotten to have them so often this year for the Cowboys.
They put up with a lot with us. They put up with our crazy questions and stuff like that. But what a great crew. I
blew it with Jimmy there. I forgot to do the Eric Cefalo standard of what are they feeding you compared to Brad Sham getting the sushi in the press.
I know when I went there in 2015, it wasn't
not good.
Very good.
Well,
that's
they're
been a
not
while.
Giving you Cuban sandwiches or other Miami staples.
Yeah, it wasn't anything that you would write home about. It was not the point where you were and your seats are not very good. Here I am, spoiled media guy. complaining about free
Sleeping
food.
on the food and the seats. But the grass field is
I
fantastic.
love the grass field there. Absolutely.
And that's really all that matters.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to ask Christy about how beautiful, gorgeous, beautiful. I was kind of trying to combine that for a second there. That grass field is there in Miami. The great Christy Scales in our player profile with Dante Fowler next.
Did you know that?
Christy Scales, of course, Cowboys sideline reporter, about to join us here on the official pregame show of your Dallas Cowboys. We'll also have our player profile brought to you by Reliance and NRG Company from Dante Fowler. But right now, let's go to Miami Hard Rock Stadium where Christy Scales is standing by. Christy, how are you?
Zach, Merry Christmas, everyone. Man, this is a nice payback after the end of the game last week in Buffalo. So great conditions and festive atmosphere, open to the fans. A lot of Cowboy fans here. It's a hot ticket, over $400, the least expensive seat as of today on the secondary market on SeatGeek. And I think a lot of Cowboy fans have treated themselves to holiday presents coming to the game today.
Yeah, Christy, Merry Christmas to you as well. I was going to ask, I saw it was a couple of Dolphins beat reporters were talking about how the parking lot is just full of Cowboy fans. I think we're accustomed to that, but are you seeing a bunch so far as Hard Rock Stadium's getting opened?
Yeah, the folks that have come in so far, and of course the Cowboy fans, they always congregate behind the Cowboys bench and usually try and get the seats, the tunnel where the players run out. So of the people who are not tailgating but already in the stadium, the vast majority are Cowboys. But it was nice representation of tailgating coming in today, and we stayed at a really nice place in Hollywood, Florida, right on the beach. And so most of the coaching staff, saw them today out in the morning getting their jogs or walking on the beach. A lot of the players came out before all of their morning stuff. So, for having to travel on the holiday, this is the way to do it for sure.
Yeah, Chris, you've been a part of a lot of these Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. I think I was with you one time on a Christmas Day when we played in Tennessee, which wasn't a great memory.
That was the worst.
That was the absolute worst ever I can remember on a traveling day. How about some good ones, though? You have some good memories?
I do remember. My first one was 1995, and it was out in Arizona, and so it's the Cowboys at the Cardinals, and this is at Sun Devil Stadium, right?
Yes.
So they're still playing in Tempe at Arizona State, and looking at the pregame, and there's Rob Moore, number 85, really good wide receiver for the Cardinals in red, and there's another 85, and there's two 85s for the Cardinals running around down there. And on the back, instead of Moore, it says Tidwell. Well, they were filming Jerry Maguire.
Yeah.
So it was Cuba Gooding Jr.
Yeah.
And so they were filming parts for the movie for Jerry Maguire on Christmas night. Of course, that was a big win for the Cowboys, and Kevin Williams had a really huge hand in that, and Cowboys, a good win for them to lead them to the Super Bowl of 1995 season. But yeah, that's what stands out in my mind is filming for Jerry Maguire.
Do you have any memories that stand out about just being in Miami? Not a place the Cowboys have gotten to go to. Haven't been there since 2015.
Last time we were here was an absolute monsoon.
Yeah, I remember
the first
that.
half.
Yeah.
It just, oh my gosh, it poured. It was like buckets. So, what was it like being there? Well, just go in the shower, turn it on high, and stand there fully clothed and try and do your work. But then in the second half, the sun came out. I mean, like hot
humid
sun.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, it was like a steam bath.
Right.
So I think we were more soaked from the sweat and the humidity of the second half than the rainstorm of the first half. But all good today. These are going to be great conditions. It's a little bit breezy, but this stadium, there is a canopy that covers a good portion of the seats, but the field and the sidelines are exposed to the elements, and it's high. There are 3 levels around, and we don't get much of a crosswind in here. It's just a nice breeze to make it comfortable, but it shouldn't affect anything with the kicking game. And if it starts to really whip up, of course, I'll update as we go along.
Christy, where would you rank this on the grass fields? This is like top 2, 3 for me ever be at.
Yeah, it's excellent, and it's a natural Bermuda grass, and in fact, they just laid a new turf down in early December before the Titans-Dolphins game in Week 14. And in fact, a few years ago, the Dolphins, they acquired some property about 80 acres from here, and they grow their own sod and provide their own grass exclusively here for Hard Rock Stadium. So, it's really in perfect condition. And the thing is, it's absolutely flat. A lot of these stadiums you go and they have kind of a crowned stadium. No, not here. It's beautiful. I mean, you could have a putt-putt golf tournament on it right now. It's beautiful.
Christy, we don't have the inactives or actives out just yet, but Brian gave us some good news on Zach Martin. Anything else you can tell us?
Yeah, so Zach is expected to play. I don't have the official inactives yet, but I know that we're expecting to be down. We know that we're without Tyron Smith and Jonathan Hankins, and so that means that Awesome Richards is going to be active this week. The rookie has been inactive a lot of the season, but he'll be the primary backup to Chuma Edoga at left tackle. So Awesome is playing today. But inactive for the Cowboys will be cornerback Noah Igbenogany, rookie cornerback Eric Scott, and then rookie running back Deuce Vaughn, who had gotten practice reps this week as Tony Pollard was dealing with a sore thumb, but Pollard's going to be good to go. So Deuce Vaughn is inactive today. And wide receiver Jalen Brooks will also end up on that inactive list, and Trey Lance is your emergency third quarterback. So basically, after Tyron Smith and Jonathan Hankins, it's the usual suspects.
Christy, the run defense, we all understand what happened last week. Was there anything during the week of you being at the Star or pregame talking to coaches about, hey, we need to think about this now in a different way, or maybe it was more about, alignment or more about technique, or did you get anything about maybe some corrections to try and make things a little bit better this week?
Well, they knew exactly what they did wrong, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's setting the perimeter, right? You know, setting the edge, excuse me, not letting the perimeter. And that's the thing is what Miami does so well, and Mike McDaniel, I know you've spoken to it earlier, but with their run game, it's a perimeter, right? And so whereas San Francisco's, their version of it may be more of an inside run game, with the extreme speed and the great perimeter players that you have on this Miami offense, it's really a perimeter run game. And so that's what makes it kind of scary, is the matchup part of it, is that if you look at what you did poorly at last week, that's a strength of Miami today. But, you know, the one thing about this team, and we saw it, I think they respond well. I think that this defense, they know how poor they were last week, and I think they've had a little edge to them all week, to answer your question. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing how they come out today. And I think that the Cowboys know that if they can get off to a fast start, get a score. What happened was last week the formula got flipped on them, right?
Yep.
The Buffalo did to the Cowboys what the Cowboys try and do, is get up on someone, keep your foot on their throat, right? And take away part of their game, be able to pin your ears back and rush the passer. And I think a real key today also is to, Tua gets rid of the ball so quickly, and they do a great job blocking for him, right? Third fewest sacks in the league, 26 sacks. But what I'm told is that he can be affected if you get to him early, hard hit early. And so you're not going to be able to I think fully assess the pass rush today by the amount of sacks, or maybe even the number of hits. Get a couple of hits on him and just see if you can affect it enough. And then same thing with the speed with the pass catchers. You can't outrun them, but if you can, it's hard to do with all that motion, but if you can just affect them coming off with their routes, that's the way to help negate some of that speed.
Christy, really appreciate it. We'll catch up with you again a little later on in the pregame.
Sounds good. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Brian.
There she goes, Christy Scales, our sideline reporter. Nobody better in the business than Christy. There's also nothing better than Whataburger. And Cowboy fans, Whataburger is rewarding you for helping our local communities from now until December 18th. Stop by your hometown Whataburger to donate $1 to the Salvation Army and receive a Whataburger burger with the purchase of a medium fry and 32-ounce drink. It's never a bad idea to get you some Whataburger. No. It's, the whole menu, outstanding. And the breakfast as well, if you want to go prior to 11 or after 11. Let's hear from Dante Fowler. He joined Chris Arnold for our player profile.
Dante Fowler, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Merry Christmas Eve. First of all, Merry Christmas Eve in Miami. That's different.
Yeah, it's cool just to be back home in Florida and being able to play on Christmas Eve in Florida. We used to do that all the time as kids. That was our tradition, playing football and stuff like that before Christmas. So it'll be real cool to be out there in Florida playing on Christmas Eve.
So how many tickets you have to come up with? Anybody chip in? You have to negotiate some tickets for some of your teammates?
They a lot of people hit me up right now, but right now I'm just my mom, my dad, and some of my loved ones gonna be coming. That's
Very good.
Yeah.
So, any special plans of getting together? Because I know you got to get back to Dallas on Christmas.
No, special plan. I probably just see some of my friends and some of my colleagues down there in Florida. But after that, I got to come back up here because the kids gonna be waiting. Waiting on Christmas the next day, and I got to come back and wrap some gifts up and stuff that I got hiding in the attic from them. So when I get home after the game, that's my next job, wrapping up the gifts for the kids.
That'll work. Okay, let's talk business. Y'all got the Dolphins. Nobody in this locker room wants to lose 2 games in a row. What's the mentality?
Just keep going, treat every game, like it's Super Bowl. So, this is our next big game. So right now we just putting in the work and we getting ready.
Everybody knows about Miami's passing attack. Tyreek Hill, Tua, but they got a pretty decent running game too.
Yeah, they got 2 fast backs and Moser and a rookie running back, Devin. They got speed everywhere. So we've been running our tails off, getting ready, trying to get acquitted to this speed that this team has. So all we thinking about is just go, 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 go.
When Buffalo, y'all play Buffalo, it was cold and rainy. It's not going to be like that in Miami. But at the same time, it seemed like they was just running the ball over and over and over again. Is that something y'all got to be aware of? The teams might start trying to do that?
Yeah, we just got to, hone in and, take it on, take on that challenge. We can stop the run. We've been doing a good job of that this year. Just got to
y'all did it against Carolina.
Yeah, we did. We just got to hone in, get back to the basics and, take care of what we got to take care of, which is the fundamentals, play our keys and let everything take care of itself.
One of the things y'all do well is y'all take the ball away. It's either fumble recoveries or interceptions. Is that one of the things y'all looking for? Because it seems like that's part of a Dan Quinn thing, that y'all take the ball, y'all do drills and things for that.
Yeah, and anytime we can be able to turn the ball over and get it back to our offense, it hires and ups our chances of winning the game in general. So that's what we definitely hone in, being able to get some takeaways and some turnovers. Because not only would that boost up us, that'll also boost up, the offense, and it just go hand in hand, and everything works out for itself. So definitely want to get back to, turning the ball over and being able to, have some game-changing momentum type of plays and swing it back to us so we can go out there and swing the momentum and, just keep it rolling.
One other thing, everybody's always saying that y'all always good at getting to the quarterback. With these teams trying to run, y'all have to slow it down, or y'all just do the same thing you've been doing?
Oh, no, we're going to do the same thing we've been doing. It's just, cleaning up some things, just being in on our keys, playing with our eyes, hands, and our feet, and playing above the 2.3 and running to the ball. And after that, everything will take care of itself.
All right, man. Merry Christmas Eve, and good luck against them Dolphins.
Thank you, man.
Florida style.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Dante Fowler, of course, went to the University of Florida. So
go Gators.
Bit of kind of a homecoming-ish for him there, going to play in
Miami.
Little
distance between the two.
Yeah, in the great state.
I did that one
Sunshine
time.
State.
It's like driving across the state of Texas when you go. I was in Jacksonville a couple of times, and I had to drive down to the Keys. That thing it took forever. I'm in the same state. No. I felt like it was like a 12-hour drive from Jacksonville down to the Keys. But yeah, it's a pretty state though, man. A lot going on.
Yeah.
Like that fishing.
It's interesting. Dante Fowler, of course, and thank you very much for doing the player profile there with Chris Arnold. You have deemed him this team's version of David Irving. Where it's like anytime he plays, there's usually something positive that's happening, but he gets so few snaps.
Yeah. I felt like, and if you want like an X factor player today, that Dante Fowler would be that guy for me, because you're right. He doesn't play a whole hell of a lot of snaps, but every time he's in there, he's kind of like a tackle for loss guy or a pressure guy or make a tackle at the line of scrimmage guy. So yeah, I'm kind of, I'd like to see him have a nice day today with the snaps that he does get.
Coming up, we will have Babe Laufenberg, who's going to join us inside the booth. We've also got Bobby Belt in studio. We'll go inside the Star following Babe around the NFC East, give you some scoreboard updates or what is going on with the Commanders right now as they're taking on the Jets, and things are not going well for Washington. That's kind of been a tradition theme there. Tomorrow, of course, we got to preview what's going down with the Giants and the Eagles. Can Tommy Cutlets, Tommy DeVito, give us a Christmas Day gift?
Miracle.
Would it be a miracle? Yeah, it might be. The way the Philadelphia Eagles are playing right now, who the hell knows? But let's talk with Babe Laufenberg coming up next on The Fan.
It's big.
All right, pregame show continues here. Zach Wolchuk and Bryan Broaddus. Bobby Bell is in studio. We'll catch up with Bobby coming up on the other side. We'll definitely give you some score updates because we got a lot happening. Most of the noon games are now hitting halftime as it is the pregame party here, and we're getting closer and closer to kickoff, about an hour and a half away. But let's go out to Miami Hard Rock Stadium, live from the booth. Babe Laufenberg. Babe, Merry Christmas. Almost said Happy Holidays, but we're just going full on Merry Christmas, babe.
Yeah, go with it. Christmas Eve, the whole 9 yards.
We're rocking with it, man.
Question I had, babe, for you first off the jump. You got the red vest on for the holidays today.
Well, you know what? I did coming out, Brian. As a matter of fact,
it's nice and warm right now, so you had to take the vest off?
No, you'll appreciate this. So I had it on yesterday on the outbound flight. I'm on the charter, of course.
Sure.
And Captain Bill, captain of our 777,
sure.
He comes back. He said, babe, tomorrow I'd love to get a picture with you in that vest. And I said, let's take it now because I won't be wearing it tomorrow. Because I had the red vest. I have a Christmas tie on. If you lose, if what happens to him here happened in Buffalo, the same deal.
Sure.
Nobody's festive. Nobody wants to look at a guy in a red vest and a Christmas tie and saying ho, ho, ho. So I am dressed normally today.
Well, babe, certainly the Cowboys are going to need a little bit of Christmas magic to defend this Dolphins offense. That is a track team they've got over there in Miami. What do you think some of the keys are?
No, you're exactly right. It is a track team. I think we can all agree Tyreek Hill is the fastest wide receiver in the NFL, and it's probably not even close. And then you go Devon Achane, the running back. He may be the fastest running back in the NFL. So you talk about a team hitting you with speed. I mean, they've got a lot of weapons offensively, as you well know, and you got Jalen Waddle out there. Not really a speed guy, but heck of a receiver, first-round draft pick. So, I mean, Tua, as accurate as they come, it's a lot to defend.
Babe, if you're the Dallas Cowboys on defense today, and we know that Miami's going to try and run the ball, if there's something, is there a lot of things you need to correct on run defense, or was there just one thing or two things that you saw that, like, okay, if they do this, they'll be a little bit better than what we saw against Buffalo?
Well, I wonder if we're going to see more Rashaan Evans in today's game, if Miami tries to run the ball. And I think that would happen quickly where they get him in there. It's funny, all season long, since Leighton Vander Esch went out,
right?
I look in there, I see 33 and I see 14.
Yeah.
Damone Clark is not a real physical linebacker. You hate to say that about a linebacker.
Yeah.
And Marquise Bell is not a linebacker. He's a safety. And I kept waiting for teams to go pound him. And Buffalo finally did it. And the Cowboys paid a little bit of a price. Now, the one thing, this offensive line for Miami, obviously, Tyron Smith out today.
Yeah.
Oh, they've had 2 left tackles this year. They've had 4 different starting left guards.
Yeah.
They've had 2 different centers. They've had 4 different right guards start. Austin Jackson, their right tackle, is the only guy that started all 14 for them. So their offensive line is in a little bit of a mess. So Buffalo had a very good offensive line that has played every game together this year. So the notion that, well, we'll just go run it on them and pound them the way Buffalo did may not work with the offensive line that Miami's going to put out there today.
That's interesting, babe, because I think Miami's probably super fearful, as every team is, about the Cowboys' pass rush. But if you're the offensive coordinator for the Dolphins and Mike McDaniel, and you see what Buffalo did last week, why wouldn't you just say, hey, we're going to run the football until they prove they can stop it?
But it's funny, Brad Sham and I were just having this conversation in the booth, and I say, offensively, you're going to do what you do best and what you've done all along. So the notion that Miami will say, well, let's just do what Buffalo did. They're built differently. They operate differently. Their offenses are different. So there's a lot of quick screens in this Miami offense. They go a lot of 2-back, more than any team except for the San Francisco 49ers, where Mike McDaniel was the run game coordinator. So there's a lot of 2-back stuff and a lot of motion, a lot of shifts. I'm sure you guys have discussed all that. So they try to have your eyes moving. You shift, motion, ball gets snapped, and defensively you're trying to figure out, okay, where's this thing going? I think McDaniel, the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, does just a heck of a job with what they do offensively. And they're all a little different. He came from the Shanahan tree and all that stuff, but everybody takes what you did and then it looks similar, but then you do some different stuff with it. And a lot of it, again, based on your personnel.
Babe, I didn't recognize that team running routes last week against Buffalo. Is drop 7 that hard of a thing to deal with if you're the Dallas Cowboys?
Well, Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator, who, by the way, had the blueprint for the Cowboys in 2021, which kind of ticked off Mike McCarthy, even though I don't think he admitted it this week.
Yeah.
but I know after that game, and Vic Fangio said, well, nobody's played him the right way. We know how to play him. And McCarthy said, well, that's good to hear him beating his own drum. So you could, the sarcasm was just dripping from McCarthy's mouth at that point. But they're a big zone team. They're not a big blitz team. And so it's going to be similar to what they saw in Buffalo. Now, again, everybody plays it a little bit differently, but Buffalo, not a big blitz team, played a lot of coverage, played a lot of zone. You're going to see the same thing, albeit a little bit different scheme, but from Vic Fangio and this Miami Dolphins defense. So, bottom line is, if it worked against you last week, it may work against you this week unless you've tightened things up a bit.
Babe, when you look at the Cowboys' issues on the road, and maybe nobody has the answer to that, but how do you think they can fix this?
Yeah, nobody does, because they would have fixed it if they could. I do think one of the things, as we get ready to play a game on grass, and Christy Scales talked about a fast track, but it's not as fast as turf. And 3 of their 4 losses on the road have been on grass this year.
Right.
I don't think they're the same team on grass as they are on turf. Defensively, we all know it's based on speed. They don't have those big run stuffing linebackers, big run stuffing defensive tackles, especially with Jonathan Hankins out. So I don't think they're the same defense on grass that they are on turf. That's one element. But hey, as to solving the problem, I always go back to Bill Parcells. Just because you can identify the problem doesn't mean you can solve it. We've identified they are not very good on the road. And it's funny walking that balance of just changing everything, right? We'll come in a day early. We'll leave at 4 o'clock instead of 2 o'clock. Oh, we'll leave at 10 in the morning instead of 2. We'll stay at this hotel. We'll do a team meeting in the morning instead of the evening, whatever it is. You start playing with that formula, it messes you up. But I know they've looked at everything. I mean, you don't just play the way the Cowboys have on the road and say, we're fine. Here, Dak Prescott, his passer rating is 38 points lower on the road than it is at home. Wow. That's the biggest differential for any quarterback in the NFL.
Babe, the Cowboys, with Udoka, the one thing that I'm encouraged by with Udoka is the fact that he gets the reps all week, because for the last 7 weeks, Tyron Smith, has been, out, not in practice. Is that too much of a positive thing to think about Udoka and the fact he has played pretty decently when given the opportunity?
No, I'd agree. I think he's played well when he's had to play. And to your point, the benefit of Tyron not practicing is Udoka does get to practice.
Right.
So he's had a lot of practice reps. He's going to be more prepared than most guys that really haven't played a bunch during the course of the year coming into a game. He's going to be more prepared than those guys, because he's got for 7, 8, 9 weeks now, he's got a full day of practice, which is invaluable. It may not sound much to the average fan, but it's a pretty big deal.
Babe, before we let you boogie out, if you're a question that always intrigues me, what is your favorite Christmas movie?
Movie?
Yes, movie.
Wow.
That's a tough one.
I'm going to give you 2. White Christmas, if you want to go throwback, right?
Yeah.
Bing Crosby.
Yeah.
Rosemary Clooney. I mean, I probably watch it every year. I've got the DVD. Not the VHS, Zach, so watch your mouth.
Yeah.
And the other would be The 4 Christmases with Vince Vaughn.
That's a classic. I know Eric loves that one too.
Oh, it's just tremendous.
Babe, thank you so much. You, sir, are tremendous. Merry Christmas, and we'll talk with you a little later.
Okay, thank you, guys. You too. Bye-bye.
There he goes, the great Babe Laufenberg. Of course, he will have the call alongside Brad Sham and Christy Scales. Babe, brought to you by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. It's Miller time. You're darn right it is. You can start cracking those now here on a Christmas Eve. I do have actives in inactives here, Brian. This is big stuff.
There you go.
Tyreek Hill, active. He is playing.
Okay.
He came out 10 minutes before the official inactives were released. He was on the field, pregame warmups. He's good to go. Dolphins safety, Javon Holland, inactive.
There you go. That helps.
He is not playing. He was doing pregame warmups, and he needs a little bit more time with 2 MCL sprains. Xavier Howard, cornerback for Miami, is active.
Okay.
So they will have their top 2 corners in Baylor Bears star Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey, which from what we've kind of been told during the week, we'll see. Maybe this changes if CeeDee Lamb starts giving problems.
Yeah.
But that probably means Ramsey does not travel with CeeDee Lamb since they have both their top corners.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Then they're going to try and play you as straight up as you can. But the one to keep an eye on is Kahu. And he's the nickel. He wears number 4. Kadur Kahu, I think is how you say his name. And he is the one that he's played the most coverage snaps of any of he's been the healthiest, but he's played the most coverage snaps. But he also, quarterbacks have a higher rating against him against any of the others, and completion percentages is very high against him. So how they attack him in this game could lead to some positive plays. We'll see. He's given up the most touchdowns of any of the Dolphin corners, number 4.
You talk about speed. We focused a lot about Miami. Fastest guy on the Cowboys offense is Cavante Turpin. And we've been looking at, okay, you got 2 good corners now on the outside against Lamb and against Brandon Cooks. You need somebody else to step up. We mentioned during crosstalk, maybe that's Michael Gallup. Maybe a guy we haven't spent enough time looking at that possibly could give you some big plays is Cavante Turpin today.
That would be nice. Just something a little. I remember a game in Lambeau Field, and where what was our little guy that we used to the little
Lucky Whitehead.
Lucky Whitehead, and there was a play right before they went to half, and it was a 3rd down play. He ran a jet sweep and got a 1st down, and the next thing you know, they drive and they get a touchdown out of it, where it looked like they were going to punt. You just need 1 or 2 plays out of these guys. You just need, if Tolbert can make a play today, if Jordan Lewis can make a play today, that's all you need. You just put together 2 or 3 of those, and the next thing you know, you just don't want to go out there and get embarrassed like they were last week. They didn't play the run, they didn't do anything offensively. I wanted to ask Babe, maybe I'll ask Brad this question: if you're Mike McCarthy, you'll get to call the toss. If you win, do you take the ball?
I am. I mean, I think, and I think that's, something I considered asking Brad last week. I think it's very important for this team to start with the football. I think they've got to go down the field, start with a lead, and it really changes the entire game script, in my opinion. Because the second you go you're behind, that's when you start to feel like, okay, we can run the football. If you're in the lead, I think now you've already set the tone. Now you're putting pressure on the opposition to throw the ball a little bit. Okay, the Cowboys' offense is now in rhythm. I think that makes a big, big difference. Let's go ahead and pause 10 seconds to allow station ID here on 105.3 The Fan.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan. Hello, baby. KRLD FM and HD1, Dallas, Fort Worth.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Quick score update for you as we go around the NFL, as we are now out of halftime and into the 3rd quarter for most of the games. Falcons are leading the Colts 20-10. Taylor Heineke taking over the starting job there for Ritter, has 191 yards and a touchdown. Jonathan Taylor back for the Colts has 42 yards and a TD there. Seattle.
Wow, big stop there for the Vikings.
Vikings are battling hard. 21-17. They're at home against the Lions. You've got big Nick Mullins, who is quarterbacking pretty well for them.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. I believe here, I don't think it was a 1st down there. It was 4th and 1. Dan Campbell went for it.
Ooh. Big stop?
Well, no, now it's 1st and goal. I've got 2 screens working here. It looks
one's a little behind.
Yeah, it looks like one's a little bit behind. And it looks like they got a 4th and 1, and they were able to get the 1st down. So you're right. Absolutely, a battle going on there in Minneapolis with the Vikings. I mean, the Vikings need this game desperately.
They have to have it if they want to stay, alive and in the postseason with a stacked NFC wildcard chase. Titans ahead of Seattle as we look at them trying to make the postseason after a big win against Philly. They're up 10-6 right now towards the end of the 3rd quarter. Jets are dominating the Commanders at home 27-7. Breece Hall has a couple of touchdown runs. Trevor Siemian's having a nice day. We both have the Packers in our G-Bag Survivor picks. Packers holding on to a 23-16 lead
Packers
in Carolina.
So bad on defense.
Defense is really bad.
Yeah.
Aaron Jones almost at 100 yards rushing for them. Browns leading the Texans 22-7. Congratulations to Amari Cooper. He's already at 200 yards receiving today. He's the first Brown in the history of Cleveland's franchise to have back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. So there are some of your score updates. Coming up next, let's go inside the star with our Cowboys insider, Bobby Belt.
Did you know that responding to one spam call can lead to more?
All right, about to be joined by our Cowboys insider, Bobby Belt, as we're getting closer and closer to kickoff. Just a little over an hour away from Hard Rock Stadium. Cowboys, Dolphins, right here on the official home of Dallas Cowboys football. 105.3 The Fan. Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout, Bryan Broaddus, as we are witnessing a hell of a game from Amari Cooper right now as the Browns just scored another touchdown. Amari's got 8 catches, over 200 yards, and a couple of touchdowns. He is balling, as we just gave you your score updates from around the National Football League. Bobby, Merry Christmas. How are you, sir?
Merry Christmas, sir. I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. How optimistic are you about our Cowboys today?
So I'll get it out of the way now. I'm picking the Dolphins today.
You what?
I'm picking the Dolphins today, but I said last week in the pregame show when Eric Cefalo was here, he's playing hooky this week, slacking. I told Eric last week that I was picking the Bills, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys won. It was definitely one of these games that felt like a coin flip, and that the only thing that would surprise me would be a blowout on either side. And a blowout on one side is exactly what we got when the Bills just absolutely destroyed the Cowboys. So I kind of feel similarly heading into this one. Is just like it feels like a little bit of a coin flip. To me, this comes down to, if the linebackers today are good, they win. If the linebackers are bad, they could get run pretty fast. And so, to me,
is it really that simple?
I think it honestly is for Dallas, because if your linebackers play poorly, then Miami's just going to be able to toy with you all day.
I kind of feel like the edges are the most important here. The guys that are playing on the edge. And I'm talking about like Armstrong and Williams and those and Tank, those guys.
They're a big part, but I mean, I don't think the edges have. When you talk about singular, when you talk about singular impact on what Miami likes to do, throwing the ball and running the ball, like linebackers are more involved between both than I think the edges are in terms of the way that they like to attack. So Miami, the way they will kind of run those little flares and other things, like your linebackers are going to need to be quick to the sideline. And then the other thing is Miami likes to set up with play action and some of those other concepts. They like to draw the linebackers in, free up the middle of the field, and then hit Hill on those digs. Yeah. And so if the linebackers are undisciplined and they're having issues with that, then bad linebacker play and coverage could mean big plays for Tyreek Hill, 15, 18 yards down the field. And then if they're bad in the run game, you're talking about gashing them there. So I just think that the linebackers, if they play the same game they did last week, they could lose by 2 or 3 touchdowns today.
Yeah, it's kind of the run after catch is the one that always gets me.
Tackle.
When you watch these guys, you're right. Amari Cooper is just killing the Texans.
He's having a hell of a day. He really is.
I think if he gets 2 more catches today, this would have been true in the past. I think if he gets 2 more catches today, he passes Jerry Rice for the most games of 10 catches, 220 yards, and 2 touchdowns in a career.
Wow, that's amazing.
Working on Stingley there, my old LSU guy.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this,
Go
though.
Gators.
If you're a coach, what were you thinking about? Yeah, go Gators. What were you think if you're one of those teams that need a quarterback? What were you thinking about Joe Flacco? Like he's come in and been.
I mean, it's funny because the Browns had him in, then sent him home, and then we've got DTR now, who they were rocking with, their rookie from UCLA, got a concussion. They called him back.
If I needed a quarterback a decade ago, I wouldn't have thought of Joe Flacco. So I definitely wasn't thinking about him now.
You didn't think he was elite?
No, I did not. I was in that other camp on that debate.
He's thrown for well over 1,000 yards.
He's been solid.
All right, what do you think about Tua though? Because I feel like Tua is discussed maybe not as critically as Dak is, but he also is one where people are they don't think he's that good. They think he's a system player. He's a product of the talent around him. I think last week was a pretty big game for Tua without Tyreek Hill, with a banged up offensive line, and he went out there and shredded what is a pretty good Jets defense.
Yeah, I think that he's the new touchstone quarterback of like, how good is he really? Like Cousins and Dak and those guys have been over the years for national conversation. To me, we always talk about so-and-so is the poor man's whatever. Oh, that's the Wish version of this or the off-brand this. To me, he is the high-end Jimmy Garoppolo. He's better than that, and I don't mean that offensively, but to me, that's the type of quarterback that he is. He's somebody who, gets by in a lot of ways, is a system player, but he's accurate, and he does a lot of really nice things, but he's got to be a specific fit. I don't think Tua, you just drop him into any offense, and he has a ton of success. I think he definitely is a specific fit, and he deserves a lot of credit, though, for being exactly what Mike McDaniel has needed. And Mike McDaniel deserves a lot of credit for bringing out of him exactly the most I think that you can get out of Tua. But I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's accurate. I think he throws with some anticipation at times, but there are definitely limitations.
Can Dallas get after him today and knock him around a little bit with this offensive line and maybe affect how he plays?
Yeah, I mean,
because he's not going to move around much.
No. Austin Jackson active, by the way, so they are without Robert Hunt, but Austin Jackson was not part of their inactive list.
No, that I think they can, because I mean, when you're talking about how depleted their offensive line has been and how banged up they've been, absolutely. The problem is that Mike McDaniel, at times like last week, they like to get the ball out really, really fast.
Yeah, it was clear watching the Jets game. They were.
So, I mean, if the pass rush starts becoming a problem, they'll just start throwing those flares to the running backs, or they'll throw those bubble screens or whatever else they do, and they'll start, trying to keep defenders honest, I'm sure, and keep their aggression at bay a little bit with some of the motion and some of the other things that they do. So Mike McDaniel has ways to try and counter it a little bit, but absolutely. I mean, if he's just going to drop back and throw, then the defensive line's going to be able to generate pressure today.
But that's Dallas making them very one-dimensional, right?
Yep. I think it's important for them to get up.
Could Miami win a game if they were just one-dimensional?
That one dimension being like you got to push the ball downfield.
Throw it, yeah,
and not just throw it as like the way you want to pick and choose, but like you got to put. No, I don't think Miami can beat Dallas that way. If it turns into just, hey, we're taking shots down the field, I think Dallas has a significant advantage. That's why I know as much as to Mike McCarthy, the middle eight is incredibly important. Yeah. The last 4 minutes of a half, first 4 minutes of a half, and that's why they like to defer. Take the ball, just take the ball, score, get up in front. That's incredibly important, I think, today.
So you're with us. Like I agree with the defer and let's see if you can get that double dip at the end of the half and the beginning of the half. But I think you need to look at your football team, and this team clearly needs to get the ball, get on the board first, and then you can go ahead and settle in and play your type of game. And I don't know how often that's really worked necessarily for the Cowboys, where they've been able to get that double dip and score going in and coming out of the half.
Yeah, I think that it's so important for them to, at this point, the road thing seems largely psychological to me. I think it might be in their heads a little bit, but I think that it's a psychology issue more than a lot of other things at this point. So I think if they get up and score and find a rhythm, that helps. So if you want to generally defer as a position, that's fine. But I think right now what is demanded of you, especially with Mike McDaniel probably looking at the way your run defense is and saying, well, I'd like to run the ball 60 times today if possible, then it's important for you to get out and put pressure on them instantly.
All right, Bobby, I don't know if you have a bold prediction. Mine today, and my Cowboys gut is telling me, and I think it's trending this way, Tony Pollard's going to have a big game today. I think that's going to help the Cowboys. I think Udoga is a better run blocker than he is a pass blocker. I think they can lean on this team a little bit and get some good traction running the football. I think Tony Pollard's ready to break out.
Yeah, but I think that they obviously have to get up early in order to do some of that. They're going to have to be able to
or just don't be down by multiple scores.
Pick their spots, yeah. But I mean, look, they're going to make things really difficult on you. Miami is. If Miami can score on the first couple drives, they're going to put a lot of pressure on you, and that's going to take away. So if they're in that position, I think they can have success with it. There's a little bit of smoke and mirrors, I feel like, in terms of statistically. I don't know that the stats completely reflect the defense that Miami is. Like, I think there are vulnerabilities there that are more sincere than what the numbers say. Like, they're top 10 in per play efficiency, yards per play in the run and the pass on offense and defense.
I think they're 17th in DVOA rushing.
They're really good in terms of like yards per attempt on passing and running. On defense and offense, they're top 10 in the league. I think they're the only team that has all four of those. And so they're really efficient, and it looks like, wow, this is a complete team, a juggernaut. How are you ever going to compete with them? I don't know that that's the reality of what their defense is. Their defense has vulnerabilities. There are ways that you can attack. And so Pollard, I think, could have a good day, but it would have to be something where they can't fall down like they did against Buffalo.
Yeah, Cowboy fans out there saying they haven't beaten anybody. What do you say to that?
I'd say, yeah, it sounds like you're looking in a mirror a little bit. Like, I mean, you beat Philly at home. That's great. But you beat a team, Philly, that's reeling. You got to show that you can beat somebody on the road. Miami at home has been a bit of a different team the last couple of years than on the road. And so
they gave that game away against Tennessee the last couple minutes of the game.
Yeah. And so I think that be careful throwing stones from glass houses when talking about who have you beaten. There are a lot of similarities right now in terms of the biography of this Dolphins team and this Cowboys team. They don't play the game the same way. It's not like that. But in terms of the questions that are surrounding this team, it's a lot of similarities.
How do you think Dak plays today?
I think he plays well. Look, I think that if you are stuck in a position where
is well good enough.
Yes, it should be good enough as long as, again, if you don't have a repeat. It's so critical just not to have a repeat of missing opportunities in the first quarter the way you did against Buffalo last week and letting Buffalo get out and ahead, because the problem is if it becomes you're down 2 touchdowns, now you got to start really throwing the ball, and you got to deal with that Miami pass rush when your left side is a little compromised, and you don't know you don't know exactly how Zach Martin's going to play. You don't know how prepared he's going to be. Then I think that sets up some potential issues if you just have to drop back and throw it 50 times. But if they're allowed to just play their game, I think Dak can take advantage of Xavier Howard. I think Dak can take advantage of, the nickel. I think that there's a lot of advantages that Dallas has here. Jalen Ramsey's had a really good year here. I wouldn't necessarily go seek him out. But I think that they can absolutely find some success throwing the ball on that Miami secondary if they can block things up.
Yeah, you would. I mean, and Brian, you can speak to this being in the NFL as long as you have Xavier Howard coming off of an injury. Would you not attack him early? See how healthy he really is?
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely, you would. But like I said, Kahu is the guy I would go after number 4.
Especially if you can line up CeeDee Lamb there. Get that mismatch.
That is the challenge. That's the challenge, though, for McCarthy and them today.
Yeah.
Find as many ways as you can to put Lamb on Kahu. If you can do that, then I think you can have a lot of success. But even if it's Cooks, I think Cooks can have a lot of success against him. That's the matchup. The way Washington and Seattle seemed to set out those couple weeks and said, let's go find Deron Bland. Let's go after him. And we all were puzzled by it. We thought Deron Bland's pretty good. But they need to do the same thing. Just go find him and attack it. And that's what I think the primary goal should be today in the passing game.
All right, Bobby, fill in the blank. Cowboys need who outside of Dak Prescott to have a big game if they're going to win today?
I mean, Damone Clark. Like I said, the linebackers I think are so big. Damone Clark would be the one. And so, I think if you get a really good game from Damone Clark, which Clark has been good at times this year, it's not always been consistent for him. If Clark plays, the best possible game he can, that gives Dallas such a big advantage in this one. And if he sees things the right way in the run game and in the play action game and things like that, if he reads those things well, then I think it's going to be really hard for Miami to beat the Cowboys.
You got your Christmas shopping done?
No. Huh. No. I still have half of it left to do.
You're going to get that done before kickoff? It's almost an hour
I
away.
put in some online orders while I was sitting here waiting to talk, and there's a Target around the corner from us. I'm going to have to go run and pick it up. And even still with that online order I just put in, I'm not done yet. And so I'm kind of under the gun, and I don't know why I am the way that I am.
You, Mark Cuban, and the Mavs. We're not done yet. You going to join us for post?
Yeah, I'll join you.
All right, thank you, Bobby.
We can talk some football.
Anything else before we let you go?
Just that I love you all.
We love you more. There he is, Bobby Belt, our Cowboys insider, as we go inside the Star. 877-881-1053. Been having people text in, hey, what are you grilling on? What are you chilling on today on a Christmas Eve Cowboys game day? A lot of people cooking up some steaks on the grill. 817 having chili tomorrow for Christmas. We enjoy mixing it up.
There you go.
Love you, gents. That's Adam in Arlington. If you don't feel like cooking, you can always hit up our friends at Papa John's. It's big, it's good, and it's only for Cowboy fans. The Cowboy special from Papa John's, a large one-topping pizza for only $9.99. Order today. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's, the official pizza of the Dallas Cowboys. This one's going to be spicy, Brian. We're getting into the final hour here, leading into kickoff. You starting to get nervous? You starting to get more confident? I'm confident.
Oh no, I just I'm kind of like Bobby. I just think that you're going to have several players, play at a level that that maybe they haven't played at all year. Maybe Damone Clark is going to have to play at a level that he hadn't played at all year, and maybe that with Tolbert have to play at a level. Those people are going to find a way to get this done today, hopefully.
Absolutely. All right, we got the final hour leading into pregame coming up on the other side. We'll go inside the numbers. We got the Coach's Corner and more next.
Bell Nunnally has been...
Jack Link's Beef Jerky. Jack Link's, feed your wild side. Volleman's Dairy, the official milk of the Dallas Cowboys. Texaco. Texaco with Techron delivers unbeatable gas mileage. Texaco with Techron, driving performance. And by Papa John's, the official pizza of the Dallas Cowboys. Papa John's, better ingredients, better pizza.
Now, here's Zach Wolchuk and Bryan Broaddus.
54 minutes away from kickoff at Hard Rock Stadium, the 10-4 Dallas Cowboys taking on the 10-4 Miami Dolphins. Cowboys still with Christmas dreams of first place in the NFC East, and a win today would give the Dolphins a playoff berth as they try and keep ahead of the Buffalo Bills, who are nipping on their heels for first in the AFC East. Big one for both teams today. Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout Bryan Broaddus as we get the preview brought to you by Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of your Dallas Cowboys. Good news for the Cowboys, Zach Martin active. Tyron Smith, inactive. We knew they wouldn't have Jonathan Hankins. Noah Igbenogany, also part of the inactives, as is Eric Scott, Deuce Vaughn, Jalen Brooks, and then your emergency quarterback, Trey Lance. Tyreek Hill is a go for the Miami Dolphins. So is their cornerback, Xavier Howard, Baylor Bear. Safety, Javon Holland, not active. Neither is their starting guard, Robert Hunt, but they will have their tackle, Austin Jackson. So there's some of your ins and outs. Brian, we were just talking about this with Bobby Belcher on your official pregame show of the Dallas Cowboys. You've got your slot corner that you can go ahead and attack for Miami and Kahoo, but also I wonder about Xavier Howard. His first came back after an injury. Is that also a player the Cowboys early on can exploit?
Yeah, you just try and find out where these guys are physically. You know, where's the rust factor with Xavier Howard? And, you know, that's something you're always very, very mindful of as a play caller. But you're absolutely right. Kahoo is the one, and you know you're going to have to move it around. I totally understand that, but I just think that the really good play callers kind of figure out where your weak links are, and because I know Mike McDaniel will find out where your weak links are, and he will take advantage of that in this game. So, you know, they last week against the Bills, the consistency with the offense it wasn't good. The routes weren't good. The quarterback wasn't good. The blocking wasn't good. They ran the ball well. That was good enough. But they just can't go into this game and just miss opportunities. And if you're going to attack their better players, well, then you kind of like, well, at your own peril. So find the ones that aren't good. Find the guys that aren't, you know, that don't always play in this game, you know, the safeties, the backups, and, you know, especially too with the offensive line. You know, take advantage of players that are the substitutes. That's the best way to make sure that your game plan gets executed the right way.
Let's go inside the numbers, brought to you by Papa John's, the official pizza of the Dallas Cowboys. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's, 800. Since head coach Mike McCarthy arrived in 2020, Cowboys are 12-3 in December for an 800 winning percentage. That's tied for third best in the entire National Football League during that span, trailing only the Buffalo Bills, whom you lost to last week, and the Green Bay Packers. Cowboys also 9-1 this year when leading at halftime, 1-3 when trailing at half. Cowboys are also averaging a league-high 18.6 points in the first half this season. That makes it even more pivotal for the Cowboys to get the lead early in this one, have the lead at halftime, because the numbers show, hey, this team wins when they go into the halftime break with the lead. We got our Coach's Corner with Brad Sham along with head coach Mike McCarthy. We'll also get to know the enemy. We'll have the owner's box with Jerry Jones coming up a little bit later on as well. So much as we get closer and closer to kickoff in Miami. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Every moment.
Some good football here as we are now in the witching hour where wins become losses and losses become wins, as our buddy Scott Hansen would say, the official pregame show of your Dallas Cowboys as we get closer and closer to kickoff at Hard Rock Stadium. Saw this from Derek Eagleton, Cowboys.com. Despite a weather forecast that only predicted a 3% chance of rain, a torrential downpour just hit Hard Rock Stadium, and that could be expected really at any time. We opened the show talking about this, Brian. If you've ever been to Florida, you never know what the weather might have in store for you. Now, a lot of the time, it's just like a quick shower and then it goes away. But we don't know what the hell to expect at Hard Rock today.
No, I used to live in Florida there. I lived in Jacksonville, and you're absolutely right. Standing on a practice field a bunch of days, that afternoon shower always seems to. But that's more in the kind of that summertime, coming through training camp and things like that. But wow, that's it. But again, not surprising. That they for a 3% chance and all of a sudden get a rainstorm. Yeah, just probably didn't expect that.
Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout, getting you set for Cowboys Dolphins right now. Let's hand things over to Christy Scales, who's with the head coach of your Cowboys, Mike McCarthy, for the Coach's Corner.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, and we wish a very merry early Christmas this Christmas Eve to Coach Mike McCarthy. And you got a little bit of a early Christmas gift in having Zach Martin back, your all-pro right guard. Any limitations with Zach today?
No, not at all. I mean, Zach's going to start, and he's full go. We don't have any limitations on him.
And with Tyron Smith unable to practice this week, we got Chuma Edoga, Awesome Richards also, I assume, got some work this week. But this is a tough challenge for anyone against this great pass rush with Chubb and Christian Wilkins. And number 43, Van Ginkel, seems to be everywhere on film. So what is it that you see the unique challenge that the Dolphins pose with their pass rush?
Well, I mean, it definitely starts up front for them. I think they also have good, we feel good about their, challenge with the run defense. But, yeah, I think the numbers speak for themselves. And I think they're clearly going to, test our edges. And it's going to be, important for us to do the little things, particularly in pass protection. There's a lot of line movement that they've shown, particularly in third down. So we anticipated going up, not going down. So it's clearly be a challenge for our guys.
Do you have fun personally when you go up against Vic Fangio and something that you look forward to? Because it's time when he was with Chicago and Denver. You've done it a lot over the years. Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've competed against each other a lot of times, and I've enjoyed the success and looking forward to the competition today. One of the things that's been the big theme this week is the team speed of the Dolphins, and C.D. Lamb put it well this week when asked about the speed. He says, we have fast players, they have a track team. Yeah. Is this the fastest team that you've gone against? Definitely. I think, not only this, probably the pure speed, without a doubt. I think one of the most explosive teams that I recall is the early 2000 team, the St. Louis Rams, the big play potential, that every time they touch the ball, they have a chance to score, and the Dolphins definitely possess that on offense. So how do you try and stop pure speed? What are the ways that that can be counterbalanced? Well, I think just like anything, you got to play true to yourself, and I mean, you're not going to change your whole defense based off one offense. So I think it's just important to maintain your leverage and recognize the points of engagement that need to occur when you're playing a team with all this speed. In what ways have the Dolphins changed or improved over the course of the season in terms of, like, they were without Jalen Ramsey, for example, the first several weeks of the season? Well, you think they're, clearly watching some of the earlier games, I think they're definitely in a better flow than they were earlier in the year. I think that, it's also the newness, the system and so forth. And Jalen gives you a chance to be more aggressive in, the outer quadrant of the field. You also have an excellent corner in Howard. So the ability to play more, one-on-one on the outside of numbers and do more inside. So, and I think that taking that pressure off the line really helps them play with their ears pinned back. In terms of your own defense, it's been covered ad nauseum, the missed tackle, some of the mistakes from last week. What is it that you saw in practice this week that has you convinced that all of that is in the rearview mirror? Well, I mean, it's been a good week of practice. I mean, you always have boxes you're trying to check, thresholds to get over, and we accomplished that. So I've been very pleased with the volume and the consistency, but more importantly, the energy of practice this week. We appreciate it. Merry Christmas to you. All right, Merry Christmas. That's Coach McCarthy. As we continue counting down to kickoff, let's turn things back over to Zach and Brian.
Thank you very much, Christy. Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy. There's great news on Zach Martin, no limitations, and he's absolutely right. We've talked about, hey, you got those two corners. They're good on the outside. Maybe, and we did discuss maybe the Bills would be able to attack the middle of the field against them, but that's going to be another key for the Cowboys here today. All right, let's get to know the enemy. Which we'll talk some refs, and then we'll also get our view from the owner's box. Jerry Jones sitting down with Christy Sales. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment. About to get to know the enemy with a tremendous breakdown on your officials for today with Bryan Broaddus. They'll be brought to you by Arrow Exterminators, the official pest control provider of the Dallas Cowboys. But Christy Scales did get to visit with Jerry Jones at Hard Rock Stadium just a moment ago. Let's then send things over to Christy for our View from the Owner's Box, brought to you by Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's. Take it away, Christy.
Well, thanks, guys. And as we wish Merry Christmas to Jerry Jones, Jerry, I've been informed that you have stayed off the naughty list and that Santa is giving you an early Christmas present, and it's anything that in this game related to getting Cowboys a win today. So what is the one thing that you want to happen in the game that you think will most result in a big W?
Well, first of all, Santa's going to have to overlook some things for me to ask for something that means that much to me. And I'm talking about a first down at the right time. But seriously, I would hope that we're frankly able to figure out what they'll be doing is doing what Buffalo did against us last week. They'll do what Arizona did against us last week. And we want to figure out how to quickly get the ball out and be able to counter that in our passing game. And that's been my question all week. Can we take those adjustments? Can we make those adjustments and do it out here today? I think we can. They're going to be coming after us at our tackles, obviously, because of the loss of Tyron Smith. So we're going to have to get that ball out real quick, and we're going to have to get some runs on them. Now, I know that just sounds like a broken record, but we got to hit some big plays because they're going to make some.
That run defense, I know it's been talked about so much this past week and given up the perimeters to Buffalo last week, but that's a strength of the Dolphins as well.
Sure. Well, we can't play like we played last week. Same thing will happen to us, and we've got to. What you're asking me about is what we expect, and I think that with the success Buffalo had against us, the success Arizona had against us, then you can look to some of those same things. And we've been working on that. And we've been working on the antidote to that stuff. Let's see if we can do something about it.
So do you expect that this will really be a track meet?
Yeah. Yes, I do. And when you have this much speed, we're anticipating that, so we're playing to that.
I want to ask one more thing, and that is in regards to the way that you set up. You know that you have the playoff win, the playoff setup. You're in no matter what. But what is the one thing that you want to see not only this week but over the last couple weeks, something that still needs to be improved upon as you take the next step into postseason?
Well, I'm going to go right to last week, Buffalo. And you heard this constantly. But we've got to finish. We've got to, we got to tackle, and which means wrap and plus run through the wrap. And that's called finishing. We give a grade for that. It's not something new because of Buffalo, but we've got to across the board finish the blocks, finish all the way through, finish. We let Buffalo take that away from us last week, and we've got to concentrate on that, and the team as a whole have been all week. But we can't get out here. This bunch will take us to the house if we don't get out here and play like every play is a playoff play. We've got to make believe or realize that you could go home if you don't win this game. In other words, you could be through. That's the way it is in the playoffs. We've got to play that same way here. So I expect everybody around the ball. I expect super physicalness today. We're coming and playing this game as though it's our last game of the year.
Hey, that happens. I think you can serve up a very merry early Christmas to Cowboy fans.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. It's great to be on Christmas Eve sitting here playing the Miami Dolphins. It's a dream come true. Thank you, Santa Claus.
Thank you, Jerry Jones. That's the view from the owner's box. As we continue counting down to kickoff at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, let's rejoin Zach and Brian.
Thank you, Christy. A very happy Jerry Jones there, as he is not on the naughty list, according to Santa. Does indeed expect a better tackling performance from his Dallas Cowboys. Let's get to know the enemy here in a second, but right now let's pause 10 seconds to allow stations to identify themselves across the Dallas Cowboys radio network.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Hello, baby.
KRLD FM and HD1, Dallas Fort Worth.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brian, I believe we have Sean Hockley, who will be the officiating crew today. Of course, the son of Ed. Everyone remembers him. Sean Hockley did ref the Cowboys Thanksgiving Day game a few years ago, which was a very heavy penalized game against the Raiders, I believe, at that time of Oakland. What can you tell us about Sean?
Yeah, Sean Hockley, of course, you're absolutely right, son of the famed Ed Hockley. A couple of games this year. Actually, he's had 2 games this year, him and his crew, where they've had 18 penalties in a game. Had a game where they've had 15 penalties, and another game where they've had 14. So pretty high total penalty team. The ones you need to know about are the offensive holdings, but pretty balanced on offensive holdings. 17 for the home team, 16 for the away bunch. The one you need to keep an eye on, I think, in this one is roughing the passer. And this is their 3rd highest penalty. So Cowboys have to play a little bit more of a disciplined game when you get around these quarterbacks. You know, we saw last week with what happened with Tank. We've seen things happen with Sam Williams. You got to be mindful with Sean Hockley. He will definitely give these quarterbacks the benefit of the doubt and give them the protection. So 6 against the home, 6 on the way, but keep an eye on those roughing the passer penalties.
Thank you very much, Brian. You always do a fantastic job with that. I know the Cowboy fans out there certainly are interested in what they have to look forward to, or maybe not look forward to, depending on the officiating crew here today in Miami at Hard Rock Stadium, under 30 minutes away from kickoff between your Cowboys and the Miami Dolphins. Let's go inside the booth with Brad Sham and then get our keys to the game with Christy Scales. That's next. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Fall is here, and that means
20 minutes away from kickoff at Hard Rock Stadium. Cowboys, Dolphins. Dolphins with a win punch their ticket to the postseason. Cowboys this time last week found out they were postseason bound. Still have dreams in their holiday vision of the NFC's title, and we'll see exactly what ends up happening there if they're able to make that happen or not, as we've got all kinds of craziness going on. But I do have some questions for my guy, Bryan Broaddus, brought to you by WinStar World Casino and Resort, the casino of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, we did have a week ago, Hunter Lipke probably had his best performance as a fullback when it came to blocking. And I believe that Lipke ended up maybe earning himself more opportunity there at the I formation when it comes to blocking as a fullback.
Yeah, I think that when you start to talk about Hunter Lipke, that his ability to it was a much better game for him taking attacking defenders as opposed to what we've seen with him before. He'd go in there half man, almost sideways. Much better job of staying square when he needed to stay square and get those blocks. He was digging out linebackers and defenders much better than we've seen at any point in time this year.
All right, let's go inside the booth. We've got Brad Sham standing by, brought to you by Pollock Aurora, proud supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Brad, how you doing? What's the scene out there in Miami right now?
Well, the cloudburst went away real fast. It got Babe Laufenberg's suit completely wet, and then it left. And so it's kind of a pleasant day. Quite a few Cowboy fans here, but obviously a lot more Dolphin fans. There's so many comparisons. They're both really good at home, much better at home. Same record. Some of the things that each team does well, so does the other one, but there's a lot to play for both teams.
There certainly is, and I mean, we've talked a lot about the team speed of Miami. Tackling was the conversation of topic with Mike McCarthy and Christie. I don't believe the Cowboys put up back-to-back performances like that. How confident are you in a bounce back here, Brad?
Well, I would say the only reason for confidence is that they haven't had two bad performances like that really in a couple of years. And so I think they'll play better. Playing better may not be enough. If you'd have asked me coming into this stretch of games, I would have said this one would have been the harder game to win than last week based on the things that Miami does well. But, I mean, the Cowboys have given us no reason to expect them to play badly 2 weeks in a row. And so we'll see if they have been able to shake that off.
Final thing here, Brad. Brian and I were wondering, Brad and I have been kicking this. Brian and I have been kicking this back and forth. Do you think the Cowboys, when it comes to, if you win the coin toss, I know Coach McCarthy likes to defer. You get that double dip in the middle eight. But the way this team plays from ahead, their style, is it more critical for them to receive the ball to try and get up early?
You always want to start fast. There's no doubt about that. I personally have an affinity for having the ball to start the second half. But there's a lot to what you say, Zach. There's a lot of reasons to do it the other way today.
Brad, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
You bet, fellas.
All right, there he is, the great Brad Sham, with us here on the official pregame show of your Dallas Cowboys. Now let's hear from Christy Scales. Christy, what do you think about trying to limit some of the tremendous speed that they have there with Miami?
Yeah, I think that's why you'll see the Cowboys defensive backs in zone, play more zone. Usually you get a lot of man with the Cowboys, but zone and that kind of vision defense, able to break on the ball. So we'll see if maybe they can get some takeaways with that. But, and especially with not just the speed that the Miami offensive weapons but with all of the pre-snap motion that they do. But so a little more zone that we're going to see today. And then also the priority, we heard Jerry Jones and Mike McCarthy talk about tackling. Then they'll also talk about setting the edges, because this is such a good perimeter run team. With that great speed, they got to keep them inside. Do not let them outside. Turn them back inside. That's the key for the Cowboys defense today, as well as in terms of with Tua Tagovailoa. They do a great job of protecting him, allow the third fewest sacks in the league this year. But, if you can affect him early, if you can hit him, get him to think about it, that's obviously going to be a key.
Christy, we appreciate it. Hopefully those showers stay away. Enjoy the game.
Sounds good. Thank you, Zach.
There
Thank
she
you, Brian.
goes. Christy Scales, best in the business. Of course, always getting us the scoop. That is Christy Scales. All right, Brian. Time now for our predictions. I know we give them weekly on the G-Bag Nation on the flagship home 105.3 The Fan. Catch us 2 to 7 there. What you thinking, Cowboys, Dolphins today?
Dolphins 28, Dallas 24.
Ooh, it's a close one.
Yeah.
I'm thinking the Cowboys continue the trend under Mike McCarthy. They don't lose back-to-back games. I think they bounce back. I think the offense plays well. I'm predicting Tony Pollard eclipses 100 yards for the first time this year. I think he has a tremendous day on the ground. Cowboys find a way to win this one, even though they do give up a couple of big plays. 31-27. Of course, we'll be back for halftime, Brian and myself, and then we'll have postgame for you until 9:30. Cowboys, Dolphins from Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. That's coming up next. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Go behind the scenes.